final gamble for Aethelgard was not fought with plasma lances or orbital bombardments, but with carved obsidian and shimmering psionic constructs on a field of pure void steel. Humanity, battered and bleeding across 100 systems, faced extinction not by an overwhelming alien armada, but by a single incomprehensible move on a game board. The Xylos Hegemony, masters of cosmic strategy, had offered not surrender, but a challenge: win their sacred game, the Hegemony's reckoning, or watch your world burn, piece by piece, as their silent, unblinking fleet waited in geosynchronous orbit. A civilization's fate, poised on the edge of a game piece. The pressure was a palpable weight, pressing down on Grand Strategist Kaelen Thorne. His sharp, analytical eyes, prematurely silvered temple catching the ambient light of the command nexus, were fixed on the crystalline projection of the Xylos's game board. It was a dizzying construct of interlocking geometric planes, shifting and reconfiguring with each turn, reflecting a tactical complexity far beyond any human wargame. The Xylos, spindly, multi-limbed beings of pure thought, had offered this contest as an act of profound mercy, or so they claimed. A mercy that felt suspiciously like a cosmic condescension. Their champion, the Exarch Valith, was a being of ancient, unfathomable wisdom, rumored to have played the reckoning for millennia, charting the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Valith's moves were not merely tactical. They were philosophical treatises, cultural declarations, each placement of an obsidian shard or shimmering crystal reflecting the Xylos's deep, almost organic understanding of the galactic ebb and flow. Kaelen, for all his brilliant human intellect, felt like a child attempting to decode a symphony with only a rudimentary understanding of rhythm. The game had begun weeks ago, each move a day-long deliberation, broadcast across the besieged human systems. Humanity watched, mesmerized and terrified, as Kaelen, our last hope, struggled against an alien logic that defied conventional thought. The Xylos pieces, the spires of sentience and flux nodes of dominion, pulsed with a quiet internal light, their movements mirroring the slow, inexorable advance of the Xylos fleet towards Aethelgard. Every lost piece on the board represented a human colony, a research station, a vital resource node that had already been quietly, surgically dismantled by the alien armada. The stakes were not theoretical, they were horrifyingly real. The Xylos's strategy was not one of direct assault, but of systemic collapse. Their initial moves had been disarmingly simple, establishing a vast, intricate network of pionic weavers that slowly began to unravel the very fabric of human societal cohesion. They targeted our logistical pathways, our communication relays, even the psychological resilience of our populace, all reflected in the board's shifting geometry. It was a game of cultural warfare, fought not with weapons, but with the subtle manipulation of belief systems and societal structures. Kaelen, initially focused on defensive positions and resource retention, found his strategies rendered moot by a relentless alien tide that didn't attack but absorbed. He had spent sleepless cycles poring over captured Xylos cultural archives, decrypting their ancient texts, their philosophies, their art. General Solera Vane, commander of the remaining Aethelgard defense fleet, had often found him in the dead of night, hunched over datapad, muttering about harmonic resonance and ephemeral truth streams. "It's not chess, Solara," he'd whispered, his voice hoarse. "It's a galactic argument, and they believe they are the undeniable conclusion." Then came the move that nearly broke him. The Exarch Valith placed a void anchor of subjugation, a piece that seemed to do nothing. No immediate threat, no obvious capture. Yet, within hours, a major human industrial hub, the orbital factories of Xylos Prime, inexplicably went silent. Not destroyed, simply dormant. The Xylos fleet remained stationary, unblinking. The realization dawned on Kaelen. The game wasn't just metaphorical. The pieces were quantum-entangled with reality. The game board was the galaxy. The void anchor had not attacked Xylos Prime. It had removed humanity's concept of production from that system. It was a move of pure intellectual annihilation. Despair began to set in, a cold, creeping dread that no human mind could truly comprehend the Xylos. Their game wasn't about winning territory, but about demonstrating superior existential philosophy. It was about proving humanity was, quite simply, redundant. Yet, a flicker of something new began to form in Kaelen's mind. He remembered a Xylos proverb from an ancient text: "The greatest strength is found not in what you possess, but in what you are willing to relinquish." He started to see their game not as a contest of power, but of values. Xylos valued order, logic, and a singular, unified consciousness. Humanity, for all its flaws, valued chaos, individuality, and a stubborn, often illogical hope. His countermove came after a week of intense meditation. He sacrificed his most powerful piece, the bastion of collective will, a move that shocked the human observers and brought a subtle, almost imperceptible twitch to Xylos' tendrils. This piece represented humanity's core military strength. By sacrificing it, Kaelen had seemingly surrendered Ethelgard's last line of defense. But in doing so, he created a strategic void, an area of pure, unpredictable human freedom. The Xylos paused. For the first time in the entire game, Xylos' next move was not immediate. The Exarch's tendrils twitched, a calculated display of serene patience. This pause was a victory in itself. Kaelen had introduced an anomaly into their perfect, logical system. He began to play not to win, but to disrupt. He sacrificed pieces that represented human concepts of hierarchy, of material wealth, of technological superiority. Each sacrifice left a void, a gap in the Xylos' understanding of how a civilization should function. He wasn't playing their game, he was playing humanity. He was showing them the chaotic, unpredictable strength of a species that found resilience in its own imperfections. The Xylos, who thrived on predictability and efficiency, found themselves facing a strategic paradox. The game shifted from a contest of who could control the most to who could adapt here the most. Kaelen's moves were no longer about capturing Xylos pieces, but about making the Xylos pieces' debts irrelevant. He would sacrifice a node of economic prosperities, not to deny the Xylos resources, but to demonstrate that humanity could thrive on less, could innovate beyond scarcity, a concept utterly alien to the Xylos' perfectly ordered society. It was, Kaelen mused with a wry internal smile, the galactic equivalent of a human showing up to a formal Xylos banquet in cargo shorts and still charming the entire room. The Xylos, built on millennia of flawless logical progression, found themselves increasingly unable to predict Kaelen's next move. Their strategic algorithms, honed on the predictable patterns of countless conquered civilizations, glitched and sputtered. They understood conquest, integration, even eradication, but they did not understand deliberate inconvenience. The final turn. The board was a sprawling mess of non-sequiturs and illogical positions from the Xylos' perspective. Kaelen had only a single, unassuming piece left, the fragment of unyielding spirit, a small, dull, gray shard that had seemed utterly useless throughout the game. Xylos had an array of powerful pieces, world engines and reality, anchors, poised to deliver the final crushing blow. Kaelen took his last move. He placed the fragment of unyielding spirit directly into the heart of the Xylos' most powerful formation, a cluster of logic cores that represented their collective consciousness. It was a move that seemed to offer nothing, sacrifice nothing, and achieve nothing. It was, from a purely tactical standpoint, a non-move, but the Xylos were not playing purely tactical. The fragment represented humanity's core belief, the irrational, stubborn refusal to yield, even when all logic dictated surrender. It was the human capacity for hope in the face of annihilation, for innovation born of desperation, for finding meaning beyond efficiency. By placing it in their logic cores, Kaelen had not attacked their power. He had merely existed, within their perfect system, an unquantifiable, persistent anomaly. He had shown them that even if they conquered every world, destroyed every ship. Humanity's spirit could not be mapped, controlled, or ultimately defeated by their game. It was, for the Xylos, an ungameable quality. The Exarch Valith froze. Its shimmering form seemed to dim ever so slightly. The colossal Xylos fleet, orbiting Ethelgard, began to slowly, imperceptibly retreat, not in defeat, but in profound, intellectual re-evaluation. The Xylos had offered a game of cultural domination, and humanity had responded by demonstrating a culture that simply could not be dominated by their rules. They had won not by outplaying the Xylos, but by out-culturing them. The victory was not celebrated with parades or grand speeches. It was met with a quiet, collective sigh of relief, and a profound, shared understanding of what it meant to be human. The Xylos, true to their word, withdrew. They had learned a valuable, if perplexing, lesson that some species, like some ideas, simply defy categorization. They would return, perhaps, but with a new understanding, a new respect for the unpredictable strength of a species that found its greatest power in its own beautiful, illogical tenacity.